Sky News.
Some rather disturbing revelations there, and as Martin said, everyone has a view on what can be done, and Margaret and Barry Mizen are with me now. They have strong views on what can be done to tackle knife crime. Their son Jimmy was stabbed to death back in 2008 in South East London. Good morning to you both. Jimmy's story will be familiar to many of our viewers. As soon as you see his picture, you are reminded of what happened to him back in 2008. It was essentially a confrontation with another young man that led to his death. Describe the events of that night and what happened.
It was actually a Saturday lunchtime, and Jimmy and one of his brothers went round the corner to buy a lottery ticket and to go to a bakery and buy a sandwich. A boy came in who was a kind of a known, I'm going to call him a thug, I don't really know what else to call him.
Troublemaker.
Yeah. And after a confrontation, I should say, threw a glass dish at Jimmy, and Jimmy bled to death within 3 minutes, and he died from blood loss. And that was nearly 10 years ago.
And I think, Barry, what shocked everybody about Jimmy's story is that it was a split second. It was a confrontation with another teenager. You know, teenagers have confrontations all the time, but this was violent. It was the smashing of a glass dish that led to his death. And we're talking about knife crime, which has now become so prevalent in the capital, in London. 80 fatal stabbings last year. And police are saying they need more help from courts and the prison system. But you both argue that community plays a huge part in how we deal with knife crime.
Absolutely. I think if this year is going to be anything like last year, there are many young people walking the streets of London who won't be this time next year. The issues come from within the community, the answers come from within the community. And this is about trying to have community encouraged projects or whatever it might be, but we can't just solve this by ever harsher punishments, ever more retributive action. This has to be a joint effort by everybody. If people are really interested in changing this, then what are we prepared to do?
Margaret, I know that you both now go into schools, primary and secondary, to build a legacy after Jimmy's death that it isn't in vain. You want to help children understand the dangers of knife crime. What are the attitudes of children like in primary and secondary when it comes to knife crime? Because we heard from our correspondent Martin Brunt there that some children think nothing of carrying a knife these days.
What you have to remember is most young people don't carry knives. So when you're sharing the story, and we're not talking necessarily about knife crime, it's about violent crime, they're shocked by what they're hearing. Because, as I say, not many young people carry knives, but those that do, actually, I would say the ones that are troublesome in the schools are the ones that come up to us and say, I'm so sorry for your loss. We believe fundamentally that if change is to come, it will come from our young people. And we ask them to be the change makers. And in primary school, they're ready for anything. In secondary school, they're a little more reticent, I think. But you've got them in the palm of your hands when you're sharing this story, and we need to work on them. So change will come when the young people want change, and I believe they will.
Yeah, Barry, it's that tiny percentage of children. You know, we are talking about a minority here when it comes to violent crime. Do you think it's from peers then, in terms of children helping other children? Because you hear about these confrontations on the street. They're normally between, I hesitate to use the word gangs, but groups of children that don't want to lose face. And I know that was a phrase that came up in the court case for the boy who attacked your son.
I'd agree, there are a lot of issues there, but there's also a real determination to want to work for change. The empathy that we feel, the determination we see within young people, and they have to be part of any projects. At the moment we're running a Safe Havens campaign within streets in our area, encouraging local businesses to be a place of safety for young people, building relationship between young people and the local community. We can do this, but it has to come from within the community, and that's all of us. It's not about devolving any sort of sense of responsibility to any statutory bodies.
Okay, Barry and Margaret, really good to speak to you this morning. Thank you so much for coming in to see us to talk about the problem of knife crime. Keep your views coming into us here at Sky.